Official Nintendo 64 Magazine Issue 65 February features Yoshi's story prominently, boasting numerous game shots and labeling it a Jurassic superstar. The magazine cost £2.50. Inside, Fighter's Destiny is hailed as a killer beat-em-up alongside a plus section highlighting games like Quake 64 and Pocket Monsters. Pokémon Stadium. Tipped. Secrets include Diddy Kong Racing and Extreme G coverage. Bonus content includes 3 for free, with Duke Nukem 64 content, a survival guide, and Diddy Kong Racing posters. The covers are classic. This page, it's all about Diddy Kong Racing then, isn't it? Remember all the hype around this one? They've gone for this battered helmet look, covered in all sorts of daft things like pterodactyl droppings and monkey brains, proper N64 humor that. It's trying to sell you on the adventurous vibe, I suppose. Below the helmet, there's a box banging on about how Diddy Kong Racing knows no limits a bit much. But it was exciting at the time. They're talking up the free roaming thing, racing on land, sea and air, and needing guts, speed and savvy, which sounds like the usual marketing spiel, but to be fair, it did have planes and hovercrafts, which was a bit different. 4-player action, 8 characters, 30 tracks. They were ticking all the boxes back then, weren't they? And of course they mentioned the Rumble Pack, remember feeling every bump. Victory is out there, go get it! Classic stuff. Right at the bottom, they're still pushing the N64 as the fastest, most powerful games console on Earth. Bless them, they really were proud of that 64-bit power back then. Good times. Issue 65 of this Nintendo magazine, February 1998, highlights Yoshi's story as a Jurassic hit, with a full guide, and promises over 30 pages of N64 playtests. It advertises a free Duke Nukem 3D survival guide, and a chance to win an N64 plus FIFA, Road to World Cup 98. The news section covers dual heroes, while N64 Plays features Wild Choppers, Aero Fighters Assault, and MK Mythologies. Reviews include Fighter's Destiny, Clay Fighter 63 1/3, Nagano Winter Olympics 98, WCW vs NWO, FIFA 98, Buster Move 2, Turok, Battle of the Dinosaurs, and Castlevania, Devil's Castle. N64 site features Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 and Jest. The Tips Center boasts over 50 pages of N64 tips, including Diddy Kong Racing secrets and Extreme G strategies. A price reduction for Nintendo 64 games, specifically a player's choice range in America, is announced, lowering the cost of titles like Super Mario 64. While the UK doesn't have it yet, cheaper games are on the horizon. Several titles, including Cruisin' USA, Tetrisphere, and Snowboard Kids, are slated to cost £34.99, with Turok, Dinosaur Hunter at £39.99. A 1998 release schedule features a diverse range of games, from MK Mythologies to Conker's Quest, priced from TBA to £59.99. Anticipation builds for later releases, like Zelda 64 and NHL Breakaway. The article hints at future titles like FIFA 99 and Madden Football 99. The article discusses the N64's successful Christmas, highlighting GoldenEye 007 and anticipating titles like Zero X, Zelda, and Donkey Kong 64. It also notes improvements in third-party games. News includes Nintendo-themed keyrings with voice memos and LCD clocks. More top Nintendo tech introduces a 64GB cable, allowing Game Boy gameplay on the N64, with a card game called Line of Sevens. Other potential games for the cable include DT and Derby Stallion. The Super 2 section reveals the Super Game Boy 2, a transparent blue device for playing linked Game Boy games like Pocket Monsters. No UK release date is set. Finally, a Nintendo quiz tests knowledge about the platform's games and characters, including the color of the new Game Boy in Japan and Link's carrot icons in Zelda 64, ending with a Pikachu image. Quake, the classic 3D shooter, is coming to the Nintendo 64 from Midway. The release date is not yet known, but the game is expected to be released on a 64 meg cartridge. It's being marketed as a terrifying, claustrophobic and violent experience, mirroring the PC original. The N64 version will feature the intense gameplay and focus on the popular multiplayer deathmatch mode, including split-screen action similar to GoldenEye. While some graphical sacrifices were expected, the core experience is preserved. Screenshots show gameplay, including nail gun and shotgun fights, rocket explosions, and dark corridors, emphasizing the game's gory nature. The N64 version boasts brutal monsters like zombies, ogres, and undead knights, positioning them as more intense than those in Duke Nukem 64 or Turok. This page carries on the buzz about Quake coming to the N64. Looks like they're really pushing the monster AI, calling it incredible intelligence and all that. Apparently, these aren't your typical brainless enemies. They're saying the grunts and zombies in Quake actually have a bit of sense about them, ducking behind cover and getting annoyed with each other. Sounds a bit much for polygonal monsters, but we'll see. Jeej, there's a few screenshots showing off the action. One bit describes how you run into a load of zombies in a corridor, classic Quake stuff. Then suddenly an ogre turns up and starts attacking the zombies himself, which is a bit of a twist. Another screenshot shows the player character with a shotgun blasting away, and then there's one with the chainsaw, where they claim the ogre is cutting zombie heads clean off. Bit gory for Nintendo maybe, but Quake was always pushing the boundaries. They even show off the different monster types, with little portrait boxes at the bottom. Zombie, dog, grunt and ogre. Looks like they're keen to show it's going to be a proper violent experience, just like the PC version they mentioned on the last page. Hard as nails, for experts only. They're saying bit of a challenge then, eh? They even give a little tip to take out the dog enemies first, then turn your fire on the grunt. Helpful, I suppose. This page is still banging on about Quake 64. It seems like Midway are really going for it on the N64. They're talking up the special effects, calling it FX Unlimited. Apparently they've gone all out to make the lighting and explosions look amazing, even better than the PC version, which is a bold claim. They're even saying you can see your gun underwater refracting light. Fancy that. It seems the atmosphere is a big focus, with mention of moody skies that change throughout the game, which does sound pretty atmospheric for an N64 title. There's a box out called What's Cool, which highlights genuinely scary atmosphere, menacing monsters, a multiplayer option, and ingenious levels and puzzles. Sounds like they're ticking all the boxes for a proper Quake experience. Down at the bottom there's a section called Weapons to Die For, which, let's face it, is what Quake is all about. They're saying there's a good range of weapons, like any decent first-person shooter, and most of the standard guns are just lying around, but the bigger ones are hidden in secret rooms. Gotta memorize those locations, for deathmatches apparently. Essential stuff back in the day. They've got little pictures of the axe, and nail gun, classic Quake weapons if ever there were any. All in all, it's sounding like a decent conversion. Hopefully it lives up to the hype. This page continues the Quake 64 loving, doesn't it? They're still banging on about it being a proper 3D experience. This time they're drilling into the environmental hazards, telling you to watch out for poisoned water and lava. Classic Quake stuff really. They even mention lava pools spewing fiery rocks, which is a bit dramatic, even for Quake. Then there's a sniping tonight bit, which is basically saying you can camp on platforms and pick off monsters, or other players in deathmatch. Groundbreaking stuff, eh? They've got some screenshots showing an ogre being sniped from above. Pretty standard tactic if you ask me. Apparently you can wait for the ogre to lumber around below you, and then blast him. Revolutionary. Underneath that they're highlighting some of the weapons. First up is the shotgun, with a screenshot showing a pretty standard view down some corridor. Then the thunderbolt, which they're calling electrifying, very witty. And finally the grenade launcher, with a picture of grenades bouncing around. It's all pretty basic stuff for anyone who's played a shooter before, but I suppose for the N64 crowd, it was probably quite exciting at the time. Still, Quake 64, decent port all things considered, but let's not pretend it reinvented the wheel. Duel Heroes, a new 3D beat-em-up, has just been released in Japan. While boasting Power Rangers-esque visuals, the gameplay is reportedly underwhelming, with clunky controls and easy button-mashing combat. The game features a journey through space and ruined cities with a typical save-the-world plot. A full review is pending. In other news, Vrally is coming to N64, and Rampage is slated for release. Developers Crave are releasing what are considered dodgy titles on N64. Hudson and Fujitsu are collaborating on a virtual pet game for the 64DD. Finally, there's a rumor of a moon landing simulation for the N64 by a company with NASA connections. This page is a full-page advert for F1 Pole Position 64. Right in your face is that iconic checkered flag, and the bold, chunky F1 Pole Position 64 logo, very 90s design. The tagline is, "In racing, there is only one position." Bit dramatic, isn't it? They're pushing the authentic Formula 1 angle, saying it's based on the 1996 season, with 16 actual Grand Prix tracks, and 22 accurate racing cars and 30 famous drivers. Sounds like they're packing it in. There are a few small screenshots showing the in-game graphics, pretty standard N64 racing fare of the time. Bit blocky now we look back at it, eh? They're highlighting realistic spinouts, skid turns and radio comms, which was probably pretty impressive back then. Ubisoft and Nintendo logos are there of course, and that FIA World Championship stamp too, must be official then. Basically, it's pitching itself as the ultimate F1 game for the N64, putting you right in the driving seat, or so they say. This article previews Biofreaks, a new 3D beat-em-up for the N64 by Midway, evoking a late 90s Nintendo magazine vibe. Described as a bloodbath with hideous, painful mutations, the game features 8 characters and promises to be more than a Mortal Kombat clone, highlighted by rocket boots for airborne antics. The screenshots reveal standard N64 graphics, with Delta and Zipperhead showcasing rocket boot combat. The game is set for a UK release by the end of summer '98. The info box confirms the game's developer, genre, and a massive 64 meg cart size. Characters like Bullseye and Zipperhead are also mentioned. This page continues the Biofreaks preview right under a big news banner and that first, and best, logo they always used to slap on everything back then. It goes into more detail about the game's arenas, saying they're interactive battlegrounds where you can use platforms to get the drop on your opponent. They're highlighting the danger zones aspect too, mentioning lethal backgrounds like lava pools, which is pretty standard fare for these kinds of brawlers, isn't it? Then there's a section called Gore, Glorious Gore, which pretty much sums up the appeal of Biofreaks, doesn't it? They're not shy about saying it's bloody, mentioning fighters spraying blood and limbs getting lopped off, charming stuff. Another bit, Dirty Dancing, talks about the character animations, saying they're like cheesy American wrestlers posing and growling. Apparently, the animations are top-notch and full of expression. There's a What's Cool box listing great graphics and animation, grotesque fighters, interactive battle arenas, and You Can Fly. They've got a few more screenshots, illustrating points from the text. One shows Minitech getting chucked into lava by Delta, bit of a cheap shot, that. Another shows Delta shooting Bullseye's arm off, and then Delta again, still fighting with blood spraying everywhere from her stump. Classy. It ends with the magazine logo and issue number, typical page layout for the time. All in all, it's hammering home the over-the-top violence and interactive arenas, trying to sell Biofreaks as more than just another beat-em-up. Panic erupts over a Pokemon episode in Japan, after over 700 children suffered seizures and headaches from flashing red and blue explosions. The incident, featuring digital effects and a strobe effect, prompted safety concerns and fears of damaging the Pokemon craze, including rentals and upcoming movies. In the UK, media outlets are criticising video games, while the Lex4 steering wheel with rumble action returns for £69.99. Finally, Mario-Kart is announced, a karaoke game where players sing as Mario characters, facing judgment on their singing skills across various musical genres. The next page is a bit of a change of pace. It's an advert for the Construction Industry Training Board, or CITB. It's got this bloke, Steve Barry, who's a plant mechanic, stood in front of a massive truck tire. You know, the kind of thing that makes you feel like your Ford Fiesta is a toy car. He's saying how he wanted a challenging job, and being a mechanic on these huge trucks, some weighing 200 tons, definitely fits the bill. He talks about going into an apprenticeship straight from school, which, fair play, is a proper route into a trade. He even worked in Africa, at gold mines in Ghana, which is pretty impressive. There's a bit of humour at the bottom with, "My other cars are 2CV, which is a funny contrast to the monster truck he works on. The advert is basically trying to get young lads, aged 15 to 19, interested in construction careers. It's all about finding your potential and giving them a number to call. A bit of a serious advert after all that Pokemon madness and Mario singing from the previous pages, but I suppose they need to appeal to everyone. It's definitely not pushing any N64 games, that's for sure. This text discusses two N64 game updates. Famistar 64, Namco's baseball game, is touted as a strong contender, praised for its comedic graphics, sound, and gameplay, though outfield players are described as somewhat clumsy. The game features 14 teams, 12 stadiums, and quick batting reactions. The text also highlights the development of the 3D shooter Forsaken. In December 1997, the developers were under pressure to complete levels and secure Nintendo of America's approval. The good news came in early January 1998. Nintendo of America loved the game, even calling it the best third-party title for the N64. Finally, a small note mentions new bounty hunters Nubia and Photoid for Forsaken, and gives a shout-out. This month's gaming news features a surge of virtual pets. Konami is releasing a Game Boy Tamagotchi title allowing players to raise 3 simultaneously, including beauty contests. A special Japanese cartridge, Oskiai and Meski, demands attention even when the Game Boy is off. Additionally, there's news about Famistar 64, highlighting varied camera angles and impressive graphics. Character profiles introduce space rogue Kuval Clark and vengeful villain Excop. Finally, Forsaken's new mission, 4 Uneasy Pieces, challenges players to eliminate 4 bounty hunters in disorienting environments, including a maze and underwater level, hinting at increased difficulty. This page is all about some bonkers Japanese action figures called Dual Heroes. Apparently these are the action figures worth fighting for, which sounds a bit dramatic for plastic toys. They're importing these from Japan, and you can ring up the Japan Center if you're that desperate to get your hands on them. They haven't really told us much about the actual game Dual Heroes, except that they haven't made their minds up about it yet, but reckon the figures are seriously cool, and you can twist them into all sorts of daft poses. We get a look at 4 of them. There's Ho Dragon Kung Fu, who they admit looks a bit silly with his ponytail, but apparently he fights like a demon. Then there's Gay Fire Hero, who they reckon is the best hero of the lot, fast on his feet, and strong apparently, no kidding. Kumo Dancing Lady is another one, who fights in a ballet style which sounds a bit camp, and Retsu's Super Ninja, who they say is the dullest of them all, and a cinch to beat in the game. Not exactly selling him very well, are they? It says there are 8 figures in total, all fully posable for your brutal battle pose needs. It's all part of their Super Mario Mart section, where they're trawling the world for cool Nintendo stuff you can buy. Bit random really, action figures, but each to their own I suppose. This page continues the action figure theme, but moves on to more familiar territory with Duke Nukem. Right at the top, they've got this golden beastie called Dewey Bionic Beast, who apparently uses his tail as a weapon. Bit of a weird looking fella. Next to him is a green chap labeled Gun Military Soldier. They're saying he makes the Terminator look like a kitten. Bit strong that, isn't it? Then we have Duke Nukem himself. Hail to the king, baby. The figure costs $12.99 plus postage. You could order it from some website, which was all the rage back then. They reckon it's a great action figure with a machete, pistols and the Devastator weapon, all changeable, so you can pose him clipping the Devastator to his belt while he's blasting aliens. Classic Duke. Down below they have Zen Dirty Fighter. They're calling him a dirty fighter who won't give you an inch, and reckon you should corner him and smash him. Bit aggressive for a toy review, eh? Lastly there's Hana Cutie Chaser, described as one for the fellas, a bit dodgy that, and dead easy to beat. So overall, seems like they're still pushing these action figures, mixing in some random Japanese ones, with a bit of Duke Nukem to try and tempt us. Odd bunch of toys really. The 1997 Golden Joystick Awards saw a dominant performance by Nintendo, with Super Mario 64 winning multiple awards including Best Looking Game and Game of the Year. The awards ceremony, hosted by Kelly Brook, was held at Café de Paris in London. While Nintendo took the spotlight, other games were also recognized. Wipeout 2097 won Best Sounding Game, Parappa the Rapper was awarded Most Original Game, and Lara Croft was crowned Favorite Game Character. GoldenEye won Scoop of the Year, Tekken 2 got Best Ad, Quake was named CVG Best PC Game, Fighters Mega Mix won Best Sega Saturn Game, and Resident Evil won Best PlayStation Game. The awards were voted on by readers, making it a celebration of popular games. This review of Snowboard Kids on the N64 highlights the console's growing diversity. Described as a 3D snowboarding sim, the game draws comparisons to Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing, but features cartoonish characters. Players choose from 5 characters, with varying skills and board styles, navigating colorful courses and performing stunts. The game includes a 4-player mode, making it a solid multiplayer option. The review also mentions the Datal Interactor Rumble Vest, a device that enhances gameplay by reacting to in-game sounds and rumble data. Finally, Mario is featured in an ELSPA initiative to reassure parents about video games, promoting their potential benefits for cognitive skills and technological familiarity. This page reviews 3 and 64 games. 64 Sumo, a Japanese 3D sumo wrestling game, is praised for its tactical gameplay, comedic characters, and unique experience. The review highlights accurate sumo action and power bar management. Wheel of Fortune, already released in the US, is heavily criticized for being a cheesy and rubbish game show adaptation, with repetitive gameplay, terrible music and irritating catchphrases. Finally, Pachinko, a Japanese game, is deemed the worst N64 game ever seen, worse than even Cruisin' USA. The review condemns its awful graphics, repetitive gameplay, and infuriating music, calling it a gaming travesty. This page is an advert for Cadbury's Astros, those little chocolate sweets in a shell, remember them? Clever ad, this, showing a giant hand about to eat one like it's a planet in space, fits with the Astros name. The speech bubble is a bit of alright. Hang on, that's no black hole, it's got tonsils. Referencing the sweet being eaten, I suppose. So delicious they're doomed, a bit dramatic for a sweet, but it gets your attention. Simple but effective advertising back then, wasn't it? Website address at the bottom too, typical late 90s stuff. The Big Blag section is giving away N64 consoles with FIFA 98. A quiz references Space World and asks about racing games without rumble, the answer being Top Gear Rally. Next, N64-themed keyrings are up for grabs, including controller and console shapes. The question revolves around the funky chicken in Diddy Kong Racing, which is drumstick. Finally, Batman is featured, with discussions on graphic novels and a lament about the film Batman and Robin. The question asks about which superhero is due to be an N64 star, and the answer is Superman, despite the game's poor reception. This N64 game review section highlights several highly rated titles: Super Mario 64, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Lilac Wars, Diddy Kong Racing, and GoldenEye 007, all receive essential buy badges and impressive scores, 93 to 95%. Other notable games include Wave Race 64, ISS 64, and NFL Quarterback Club. A strong 90% or above rating signifies a must-buy, while titles like Duke Nukem 64, FIFA 98, and Extreme G also garner high scores. The review also mentions games with lower ratings, including Mortal Kombat Trilogy and FIFA 64. The scoring system explains ratings from Buy This Game to Complete Dog. Additionally, the page features random brain strain answers and humorous staff profiles with silly job titles. This page is all about Yoshi's story on the N64, hyped up as the next big thing after Super Mario 64. It's funny reading this now. Back then everyone was screaming for 3D after Mario 64 blew our minds, and they're almost apologizing for releasing a 2D game like Yoshi's Story. They mention how people were a bit miffed at the thought of another 2D game, even mentioning Mischief Makers in the same breath, which was alright but no Mario 64. But Nintendo bigwigs apparently decided to show everyone that 2D can still be stunning, hence Yoshi's Story. Prudence. There's a bit explaining who Yoshi is for those living under a rock. Debut in Super Mario World on the SNES, then Yoshi's Cookie and Yoshi's Island, you know the drill. Then it goes into the story of Yoshi's Story, something about Baby Bowser turning Yoshi's Island into a 2D picture book, and the Yoshi clan needing to collect fruit to turn it back to 3D. Sounds a bit bonkers, but hey, it's Yoshi. They've got screenshots showing off the game's style, all colourful, and like a storybook. Down at the bottom there's a bit about level 1 and how to play, using Yoshi's tongue and eggs. Simple stuff really. Seems they're really pushing the idea that even a 2D game can be top-notch on the N64. Bless them for trying. This page is another one dedicated to Yoshi's Story. Big picture of Yoshi, right in the middle. Bit of artwork for the game. It's plastered with Nintendo 64 and Yoshi. Can't miss what they're pushing here. Down at the bottom they've got a line of little screenshots showing off some gameplay tips. Apparently hip dropping might reveal secrets, and there's something called a wake warp to save your position. And then, top tip, hip drop and run like hell to get past some elephant-like sucker. Charming. Right at the bottom corner, they've put official UK Nintendo Magazine 27, so we know where this nonsense is coming from. Still pushing Yoshi's Story pretty hard then, bless them. Yoshi's Story centers on collecting fruit to complete levels, with no definitive end goal besides eating enough to progress. The game features 6 Yoshis, each with unique preferences, acting as lives. Choosing a lucky fruit affects health, represented by a smilometer flower on Yoshi's back. Eating preferred fruit keeps Yoshi happy and healthy. The game offers a story mode where progress isn't saved, but completed screens are. Trial mode allows for saving and score chasing. Key gameplay elements include Yoshi's tongue for manipulating blocks, bonus games triggered by hitting blocks, and watermelon rewards for reaching the second flag. This page explores the colorful Yoshis of Yoshi's Story and provides an overview of the game. Each Yoshi has a preferred hey-ho and fruit. Red likes apples, yellow likes bananas, blue and pale blue prefer grapes, pink likes apples, and green favors watermelon. The game features 24 levels across a book-like format, with players completing 6 pages before battling Baby Bowser. Each page unveils new stages upon completion. Trial mode is accessible via red stages. Gameplay revolves around eating fruit, 30 required to finish a stage, with Poochie offering bonuses and special hearts unlocking extra levels. The game emphasizes simple, charming objectives. This guide details the N64 controller layout for Yoshi's Story. The Start button pauses and displays the score. B controls Yoshi's tongue for eating and wrapping up. The right shoulder button lets Yoshi sniff for secrets. A is for jumping and the hip drop. The 3D stick moves Yoshi, and the Z trigger is for egg throwing. The D-Pad adjusts fruit frame size, while the left shoulder button toggles it. The egg excitement is building. Section focuses on egg mechanics. Yoshi can stomp or swallow enemies for eggs, with a maximum of 6. Hitting targets with eggs awards prizes. Fireworks near an egg cause Yoshi to become a giant egg. Using the 3D stick with a special tulip lets Yoshi rocket into the sky. This guide explores Yoshi's story mechanics. Time warps, found 4 per level, transport Yoshi forwards or backwards, with bonus points for waking them. Poochie, Yoshi's canine companion, helps by sniffing out hidden items. If nothing is found when Poochie searches, a magical event should occur. The guide then details Yoshi's personality, noting his reactions to different foods and enemies, which can be a way to find out what he likes and dislikes. He can also sniff out hidden bonuses. Various power-ups and blocks are also detailed. Egg blocks provide infinite eggs. Question mark blocks lead to time challenges, and question mark switches reveal secret paths. Question mark bubbles yield items when hit with eggs. Pots and doors act as warp pipes. Keeping a white hey-ho lets you rescue a Yoshi. Exclamation mark blocks enable tongue-based climbing. Message blocks offer clues. Finally, eating 6 of the same heart fruit grants temporary invincibility, an extended tongue, and unlimited eggs. Yoshi's Story features hidden special hearts that unlock extra levels, with 4 stages per world. Boss battles occur every few stages, introducing new generals to fight. Standard Yoshi gameplay mechanics like tongue and egg firing are key to success. Minigames scattered throughout the story offer rewards like watermelons. While Yoshi can't transform into vehicles, he can still reach high places using platforms and items, including underwater sections. The graphics are heavily praised, with crayon effect backgrounds enhanced with new textures and impressive environmental details like reflections. This update previews 6 new areas in Yoshi's Story. The forest introduces hayhos and spiders. The cavern features lava and long jumps, promising classic platforming challenges. The mountain boasts climbing with springs, leaves, and snowball-throwing hayhos. The rainforest includes giant fish and shrinking cacti. The underwater level offers a sandy coast or diving route, both filled with spiky fish, octopuses, and even pirate ships. Finally, Koopa Castle presents the biggest challenge with blade traps and rotating blades. Each area is accompanied by screenshots, showcasing the game's colorful aesthetic and hazards. Petty. This article previews Yoshi's Story on the Nintendo 64. The game features a trial mode for high-score runs with a leaderboard. Language options include English. The Rumble Pack will vibrate based on Yoshi's mood, enhancing the experience. Familiar enemies and bosses like Raphael Raven and Naval Piranha return from Yoshi's Island. The article emphasizes the game's impending April 10th release, calling it a must-have title for fans and highlighting its visuals. This page, right then, takes us away from the games for a minute and throws us straight into an advert for Clearasil Complete. Yes, Spot Cream, remember that? Seems even gamers back then had to worry about the old zits. It's a bit of a naff comic strip setup, you know the drill. Older brother all smug showing off his flawless skin, saying how this new Clearasil Complete really works and, look at me! The poor younger brother looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, probably wants to get back to his Mario Kart. The advert waffle talks about how it's 5 times better than ordinary soap at beating spots and boasts about its deep cleaning microbead formula. Microbeads, crikey, we know better now, don't we? It's all about getting rid of bacteria to prevent unwanted zits, apparently not including the younger brother himself as the joke goes. Right at the bottom, big and bold, all you need to help beat spots. Feng Nu. Classic 90s marketing, isn't it? Always gotta tell you what you need. Flipping heck. This review of Fighter's Destiny on the N64 sets a sarcastic tone from the start, questioning whether it can compete with established beat-em-ups like Virtua Fighter and Tekken. The game, originally titled Fighting Cup, features a roster of 12 characters. The review highlights gameplay screenshots with witty captions, showcasing the game's action and character matchups like Mailing vs Bob and USHI vs Tomahawk. Game details include a price of £49.99, a release date of February 14, 1998, and standard features for the time. The review praises the simplified controls, suggesting accessibility. While acknowledging the game, the review's overall tone is cautiously optimistic, hinting that Fighter's Destiny might not revolutionize the genre. This page is all about Fighter's Destiny and its different play modes, calling it 5-way fighting fun. It kicks off with Grizz's Comp mode, which, and I quote, "It's easy to guess what this option does. Cheeky. Basically you pick your fighter and try to knock everyone else out, classic battle royale style." There are a few screenshots showing this mode in action with characters like Abdul, Leon and Pierre battling it out. Then it moves on to VS Battle mode, suggesting if you've messed up your maths homework you can grab a mate and settle scores virtually. Standard 2-player versus fighting, nothing revolutionary there but always a good laugh. Screenshots show Borrow fighting Bob in this mode, Binuti Tiazas. After that it dives into character profiles, highlighting Ryuji from Japan, described as the Karate Kid, and an all-rounder who uses punishing kicks. Then there's Tomahawk from the USA, said to be slower but stronger, an Uncle Sam type wrestler, with moves like the giant swing. Finally, Abdul from Mongolia, described as a box of tricks, who mixes wrestling with bizarre moves like Dollar Fish and Crab Hell. Each character section has screenshots, showing off their special moves. Bex, overall, it's a look at the different ways to scrap in Fighter's Destiny and a bit of flavor on some of the characters. Seems like they're trying to show off the variety the game has to offer, beyond just standard arcade fighting. This game, a continuation of Fighter's Destiny, offers several modes. Record Attack features Fastest, Survival, 100 battles, and Rodeo, against a cow. Master Challenge is a 12-fight tournament where you face masters for new moves or jokers who can strip your skills. Training Mode allows practice against Robert the Robot in 4 modes: Normal, Aerial, Special, and Escape. Character profiles include Mailing, China, a Kung Fu expert; Ninja, Japan, skilled at defense; Valérie, Germany, strong with aerial attacks; and Pierre, France, the clown character, all with flashy special moves. Overall, it seems to be more of the same Fighter's Destiny style. This page is all about racking up points in Fighter's Destiny 2, because apparently just beating your opponent isn't enough, you've got to do it with style to earn prizes. It's laying out how you get points in a match: 1 point for a ring out, which is always a cheap but cheerful tactic; 2 points if you properly batter them and then throw them to the ground, fair enough. You get 3 points for countering special moves, which sounds like a proper test of skill and timing, and then 4 or 5 points for pulling off your own special moves and combos, which is where the real showboating comes in. Below that they are profiling a few characters. First up is Borrow from Switzerland, described as a female kickboxer, not some rubbish football team. Leon from Spain, a well-honed fighter from the Costas, apparently good for shake-off moves, like the plasma heel break, which sounds a bit painful. Then there's Bob from Brazil, the boy with the military muscles, a proper boxer who can put together some seriously hard combos apparently. Finally, a little tease about Free the Fed 5, mentioning there are 5 hidden characters to unlock later in the game, which back in the day was always exciting to find secrets like that. Seems like they're really pushing the depth of Fighter's Destiny 2, beyond just button bashing. This review from Fighters highlights N64 beat-em-ups, humorously pairing games with celebrities. Mortal Kombat Trilogy gets Steven Seagal Mace, The Dark Age gets Jean-Claude Van Damme, Fighter's Destiny gets Bruce Lee, War Gods gets Jackie Chan, Killer Instinct Gold gets Chuck Norris, and Clay Fighter 63 1/3 gets Frank Bruno. The review heavily favors Fighter's Destiny, praising its depth, skill system, and save feature. A Fight Night section focuses on Fighter's Destiny's 2-player mode, calling it a top-tier experience. Tim Street further champions the game, calling it a first-class title. Fighter's Destiny receives high marks across the board in the breakdown table, especially for playability, 92, and graphics, 90, ultimately earning a 90% score and being crowned the best fighting game on the N64. The review highly recommends the game. Warrington. This ad from the late 90s is a special reserve mail-order promotion focusing on the Nintendo 64. The N64 itself is advertised for £99.99, alongside a fire pack including an extra controller and memory card. A strong selection of N64 classics like Mario 64, GoldenEye, and Zelda are featured, as well as cheat books, essential before widespread internet access. Pocket Game Boys, SNES games, and even some PlayStation titles are also available. A membership for £6 offers a magazine, cheat book, and a random free gift, like a keyring console or stereo. The ad also highlights a pay later option, with 0% interest, and mentions physical stores. The page offers a glimpse into the simpler gaming era of the late 90s, filled with classic games. This page provides cheat codes for the classic N64 game Diddy Kong Racing. These cheats enhance gameplay, offering features like playing as drumstick, changing balloon colors, altering character sizes, and enabling two players to use the same character. Codes include Time to Lose for tougher opponents, Joint Venture for two-player adventure, and Vitamin B for unlimited bananas. The page also details a competition, Wario's Most Wanted, where players submit their favorite cheats for Super NES or Game Boy games, and non-64 titles, like Duke Nukem 64. The winner receives a Macapad controller and a Tremor Pack. This page details cheat codes for classic N64 games. In San Francisco Rush, players can access a secret tunnel, Virtua Racer views, and a complicated night driving mode enabled by holding C buttons with extreme fog. Madden Football 64 features a cheat to view an unrendered finishing sequence by inputting a button combo after the E logo. Automobili Lamborghini unlocks hidden bonus cars, including Ferraris and Porsches, by completing championship mode on various difficulty levels. Lastly, Extreme G offers a lazy winners code, RA50, allowing the computer to finish the race, and an unlimited weapons code by using Arsenal as a name. This page details cheat codes for several classic games. In Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, N64, enter RBNSMTH for God Mode. Tetrisphere, N64, offers hidden characters by manipulating shoulder and C buttons during name entry, and a hidden game by naming yourself lines. Level select is achieved by entering a specific character sequence. Killer Instinct Gold, N64, features speed-up cheats using button combinations on the character select screen. Super Return of the Jedi, SNES, includes character select, level skip, B+ start after the last cheat, and 7 continues via button sequences at the title screen, along with a large table of passwords for level and difficulty settings. This page in the mag is all about cheat codes, proper old-school style. First up, it's Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the N64, and they're banging on about the gore, as you'd expect. There are cheats here for stage select, which is handy if you want to skip straight to the good backgrounds. Then there are codes to play as Shao Kahn and Motaro, the big bosses. Everyone always wanted to play as them, didn't they? Apparently for Shao Kahn you gotta be on the pit 3 or rooftop stage and press a load of buttons before the round starts. And for Motaro it's similar but on Jade's Desert, Khan's Tower, or the Wasteland stages. Sounds like a right faff to remember. Jade's Desert. Next up, it's Zelda, A Link to the Past on the SNES. Proper classic, that one. The cheat here is to get into a secret room by typing Zelda as your name when you start a new game. They're even making a joke about Link looking better in 64 bits. Cheeky! Ooh. Lastly, there's Pilot Wings, also on the SNES. This one's for instant expert mode. You have to enter a code at the stage 5 screen, and then when you game over and reset, apparently you're a Pilot Wings expert. Sounds like a good way to impress your mates down the arcade if anyone still went to arcades by this point. All pretty standard cheat stuff for the time. Nothing too groundbreaking but useful, if you were stuck. The Hot Help section offers classic cheat codes and tips. Zelda, A Link to the Past fans learn the ice rod is in a Lake Hylia cave accessible via a bomb-revealed passage. For Mario Kart, SNES, players get a code for special cup tracks, pressing left and various buttons, and a mini Mario cheat requiring Princess's Mushroom and a player screen button combo. Diddy Kong Racing on N64 advice focuses on defeating the octopus boss, Crunch, by using red balloons for homing missiles and blue for turbo boosts. The section concludes with a paid hotline, 50 per minute, and photos of the tip givers, reassuring users that tips are checked by Nintendo. This Hot Help page offers tips and cheats for classic games. Is64 on the N64 receives advice on an All-Stars team and a big heads code. Mortal Kombat 2 on the SNES gets a detailed list of Shang Tsung's fatalities. Jurassic Park on the SNES provides item locations but no cheats. Urban Strike on the SNES gets level codes. Finally, Lilat Wars, Star Fox 64, on the N64 offers advice for the Sector Z medal. The page concludes with a reminder to call the premium rate Nintendo helpline. This guide from the official Nintendo magazine offers tips for navigating the Windmill Plains track in Diddy Kong Racing's Dragon Forest world. Aimed at players struggling after Christmas, it provides 6 numbered sections to conquer the track. The guide emphasizes speed starts, strategic power-up use, and utilizing air zippers. It highlights the importance of grabbing colored balloons and suggests techniques for tight turns and efficient navigation through windmills and tunnels. The tips emphasize strategic driving, particularly when using air zippers and navigating tricky canyon turns. The advice is officially vetted by Nintendo, ensuring its credibility. This page is a guide for Greenwood Village in Diddy Kong Racing. Looks like we are still in Dragon Forest then. Right then, so it's a track guide, bit like the last one for Windmill Plains. They've got a map of the track all laid out, marked with numbers. Norsa, the guide gives you 5 numbered tips with screenshots from the game to help you round the track faster. Tip number 1 is about getting a good speed start and grabbing the oil slick balloons. Tip 2 is about using green balloons for oil slicks around corners. Tip 3 is about multicolored balloons to catch up if you're lagging, and using bumps and bananas strategically. Tip 4 talks about speed boosts and red balloons for homing missiles. Finally, tip 5 is about using the brake in the tunnel and grabbing bananas and speed boosts near the finish line. All fairly standard racing advice really, but good to see it officially from Nintendo. There's a spaced out man section, which is a bit of a nudge towards the WizPig unlock, I suppose. It mentions getting WizPig amulet pieces by beating bosses to unlock WizPig, and then getting gold trophies in Mario Kart style races to unlock space racing. Bit cheeky comparing it to Mario Kart, but I suppose that's the benchmark, isn't it? Good times. Diddy Kong Racing was a cracker, wasn't it? Still holds up. This page focuses on the Boulder Canyon track in Diddy Kong Racing's Dragon Forest world. It provides a track guide with numbered tips to improve racing times. These include utilizing speed starts, cutting corners, using speed boosts, and strategically grabbing balloons. The guide offers standard racing advice useful for new players. Additionally, a "Do you want to have some fun?" section highlights the importance of finding gold keys in various worlds to obtain pieces of the Trat amulet, adding replayability. It lists Ancient Lake, Snowball Valley, Crescent Island, and Boulder Canyon as key locations and provides a vague tip for finding the key in Boulder Canyon, specifically mentioning using a turbo after the drawbridge. This magazine page continues the Diddy Kong Racing guide, focusing on the Haunted Woods track and the WizPig boss fight. The Haunted Woods track is deemed the easiest, offering basic racing tips like grabbing balloons by the fountain and sticking to inside lines. The guide then covers the WizPig battle, emphasizing the importance of the turbo boost and using shoulder buttons in the caves. It highlights strategic balloon locations for missiles. While the advice is straightforward, it likely assisted players struggling with the boss. The article concludes with a teaser for next month's coverage of future Funland and WizPig, suggesting an in-depth focus on the game. This page, blimey, Extreme G. Now that's a blast from the past, isn't it? This is part 2 of a player's guide, and they're not kidding about the speed, saying it's so fast your lips peel back. A bit dramatic maybe, but Extreme G was rapid, proper fast racer, especially for its time. They're banging on about the last 7 Extreme G courses, including a hidden track, Mysterious. It's all about sheer speed here, apparently hoping it won't leave too many readers G-sick. Good one, magazine. It's just a player's guide, nothing too groundbreaking, but for anyone struggling with the later tracks of Extreme G back then, this sort of thing would have been gold. It's all very player's guide, generic, but hey, Extreme G, good memories. This guide reviews the weapon pickups in the futuristic racing game, Extreme G. Weapons are categorized, starting with offensive options like ion-side cannons, electric blasts, phosphor flares, blinding effects, and various rockets, direct, homing, rear-firing and mortar. Other weapons include the Morning Star, spinning mine, static pulse, steering disruption, and tractor beam, pulling opponents back. Defensive options include power shield and shield recharger. Finally, there are the multiple needle missiles, leader attacks, proximity mines, set and forget, and flame exhaust, speed boost and rear attack. This overview provides a quick reference for understanding the diverse arsenal. This page is a track guide for City 1 in Extreme G. Looks like they're telling you to get your eye in with practice mode first, because apparently the scenery is a bit apocalyptic, which, yeah, it's a futuristic racer, what do you expect, rainbows and unicorns. They're calling it the first industrial level, which is a fair cop. It's a bit of a fork in the road affair, literally. They're pointing out that taking the left route will take longer, but you'll get some decent weapons. Right route is the direct and faster option. Makes sense. Risk versus reward, eh? There's a fork just past the halfway point apparently, good to know. Rupus. And they're warning you about a loop later on, calling it a nasty surprise. Right, cheers for the heads up then. Wouldn't want to be caught out by that, would we? They've got some screenshots dotted around, showing different bits of the track, and your lap times as you go. Looks like standard track guide stuff really, but for Extreme G, which was a decent enough futuristic racer back in the day, if you were into that sort of thing. This page is the track guide for City 2 in Extreme G, picking up where City 1 left off. Right, so City 2, they're saying it's good for running battles, which I guess means blasting your mates off the track, as the roads are nice and wide. Fair enough, keeps things interesting if you're not just about pure racing lines, but shields up, apparently. Or stick to the wide bits, good tip. They're highlighting a chicane made of yellow and black blocks early on, and after that the track splits in two. Both routes run parallel and they're straight. So no real difference then. Just pick one and accelerate hard. Direct and to the point, can't argue with that. Then, later on, they're talking about how the track winds about, before heading into another awkward chicane, and then a small loop to the finish. Sounds like a bit of a twisty finish to keep you on your toes, rather than just flat out to the line. They've got little screenshots dotted around showing these bits, with lap times like 23 seconds, 32 seconds, 25 seconds, and then over a minute for the final section. So it gets longer later on then. Standard track guide layout really, showing you the course and giving you some pointers to survive, or maybe even get a decent time in Extreme G. Good stuff if you were struggling with this track back in the day. This page is the track guide for City 3 in Extreme G, continuing the tour after City 2. City 3, they're calling it the final city race, and one of the most spectacular choices. Bit dramatic, isn't it? It's Extreme G, not exactly Shakespeare. Anyway, they reckon you start by speeding through a commercial centre. Right then. Apparently there's a huge ramp to the right soon after the start, a shortcut apparently, but watch out for buses. Charming. Then, after the first tunnel, there's a split in the road. Ramp on the left, with a nitro curtain for a boost if you fancy it, or stay grounded on the right. Nitro's always welcome, let's be honest. They're also telling you to watch out for all the large jumps. Subtle. Further down there's another split. Tunnel on the left, straight on the right. Tunnel's slower but safer, they say, especially if you're using nitro or getting shot at. Sensible advice. Warrant after that first split, it sounds like you're heading into a scrapyard with a few turns, and then another junction after you get through it. They say you'll suddenly find yourself shooting through a scrapyard. Sounds pleasant. Standard track guide stuff really, pointing out the twists and turns and trying to make it sound more exciting than it probably is. Still, if you were stuck on City 3, this might just give you the edge. This page is the track guide for Space 1 in Extreme G. Right, so after messing about in cities, they're sending us to space, are they? Leaving the relative safety of planet racing, they say, to experience G-forces in space. Sounds about right for Extreme G, doesn't it? Never one for subtlety. Anyway, this track, Space 1, they're telling us it's a route through a potentially lethal asteroid belt. Charming. The little map shows a twisty track with some numbered sections. Screenshot shows a bit of asteroid dodging action. Apparently there's lumps of debris to contend with. Just what you want when you're trying to hit top speed. Another picture shows what they're calling a power shield pickup on the right-hand route. They reckon neither route is faster, but the right gives you the shield. Power-ups, always a bit of a gamble if they're worth the detour, aren't they? Last screenshot is all about spaceships and satellites zooming past at high speed, apparently adding to the spacey vibe. Well, it is called Space 1 after all, so you'd expect a bit of that. Looks like your usual Extreme G madness, just this time with a backdrop of stars instead of buildings. Standard stuff really for this game. The next page is still all about Extreme G, this time it's Space 2. One of the more mysterious and surreal tracks apparently, in Extreme G they reckon. They're saying here that strange spirals twist into each other as you race around, and you pop into portals and reappear in different scenes. Sounds a bit trippy even for Extreme G, doesn't it? They mention a weird purple mist that cloaks the course, making it harder to see, which sounds like a right pain in the backside. There's a little track map marked with numbers again, showing different sections. The screenshots seem to show off this mist, and the portal stuff they were talking about. One image shows you flying through some rings, and then suddenly you're in a different location entirely. Classic Extreme G warping nonsense. GMG Kamol, the text mentions after going through the fourth portal, a green one, you hit a rather large series of loops. Of course you do, because why not? They also point out different routes, saying the best one is left, right, which takes you through nitro curtains, To the finish line. Nitro curtains, eh? Sounds like something Wario would come up with anyway. They reckon this is the fastest route to the end. Good to know, I suppose, if you can remember lefts and rights when you're hurtling along at bonkers speeds. Seems like this Space 2 track is living up to the surreal part of the description. Typical Extreme G, really. Space 3 in Extreme G is set in a bizarre countryside environment. Players must navigate sharp turns, ramps, and nitro curtains to shave off time while enjoying the sci-fi space scenery. The course ends in Zerog Town. A hidden track can be accessed by entering the code 81GGD5 at the password screen, unlocking the Roach and Neon bikes. The developers highlight this as a fun tip for the game. Screenshots and a track map are included. Guide. The page concludes with a special thanks to section, recognizing Simon Smithwright and Daniel Plantin. Space 3 aims to be less complicated than its predecessor, while retaining Extreme G's signature speed and track design. This page in Classic Corner delves into the retro classic, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Remember this one? Back in the Super Nintendo days, this was proper good fun. A real gem unearthed from the console crypt, as they put it. They're running through weapon tips, answering the age-old question of which weapon works best on which ghoulie. So, soda pop cans are your best bet against those pesky evil dolls, bazookas for chainsaw maniacs. Makes sense, right? Fire extinguishers for evil jelly blobs, and ancient artifacts for werewolves and vampires. Silverware also works on werewolves, and tomatoes are good for Martians. Killer tomatoes, naturally. Ice pops deal with jelly blobs up close, Martian bubblegum for ants, and footballs to distract those football player zombies. Bit of a mixed bag of weapons, that's for sure. Killitoes. There's also a handy list of level codes to skip straight to later stages. Level 5 is FHRX, level 9 is NBGW, and it goes all the way up to level 45, VLHX, cheating your way through, just like we all did back in the day. Warrington. And lastly, a little bonus tip, you can get to the bonus round from stage 1 by blasting a hedge at the top of the stage with the bazooka, and for a password you key in BCDF before starting. Classic magazine stuff, giving you all the secrets, or at least some of them. Good times. Classic Corner tackles facts for Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Need to get through a door? Bazooka it, unless it's a skeleton door. Points, earn extra lives. Frankenstein's monster? Freeze him with a fire extinguisher, then blast him. Big Baby Boss? Red potion and punch. Or bazooka. Dr. Tongue's son is a bonus on level 22, but you need a skeleton key from an earlier level. Lost victims? Use the radar map, left shoulder button. Classic Corner provides these tips, and reminds players of a simpler time where help meant a phone call to the hotliners. This site hosts N64 skill challenges with Nintendo prizes. The main focus is Diddy Kong Racing, featuring a leaderboard with impressive times, including a standout performance by Dilpesh Vasani. Players can submit their fastest times on various tracks, aiming to achieve Diddy Kong Racing League status via strategic use of speed boosts. Other challenges include GoldenEye 007 headshot percentages, Mace, the Dark Age high scores, with rewards for executions, and another Diddy Kong Racing time trial. Nintendo verifies all submitted scores. This page highlights various gaming challenges to crown the ultimate gamer. Competitions include Mario Kart 64 time trials on Wario Stadium, currently led by Rainier DeVito, GoldenEye 007 headshot counts, Stephen Williamson reigns, and Lilat Wars, Star Fox 64, high kill scores on Macbeth, Duncan Norwood in the lead. Further challenges feature Top Gear Rally, win the professional season, F-Zero, fastest time on Deathwind 2, and Tetris Plus on Game Boy, highest score on level 20. To enter, players submit scores with proof. All entries were vetted by Nintendo, with a deadline of February 21, 1998. A Nintendo 64 console is advertised for £89.99, with deals on accessories and fast delivery. The ad highlights several games: WCW vs NWO World Tour, Nagano Winter Olympics 98, FIFA, Road to World Cup 98, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye 007, Top Gear Rally / Lamborghini 64, Lilat Wars, Star Fox 64, Extreme G, International Superstar Soccer 64, Mischief Makers, Bomberman 64, and Doom 64. Beyond the console and games, a wide array of controllers are available. These range from official colored controllers to third-party options like SharkPad Pro, Arcade Shark Stick, and various Super/Mako/Trident pads. Serious racing fans could choose from numerous steering wheels, including Mad Catz and Top Gear models, with a discount offered if purchased with a racing game. This ad page from Excitement Direct, a mail-order game specialist, offers a nostalgic glimpse into the gaming world of yesteryear. It highlights N64 accessories, like rumble packs and cheat cartridges, alongside US imports. The page also advertises Super NES games at reasonable prices, showcasing classics like Super Street Fighter II and Donkey Kong Country. Game Boy systems, including the color Game Boy Pocket, are featured alongside a PlayStation console with popular titles like Tomb Raider 2 and Crash Bandicoot 2. The ad concludes with game storage cases, cleaning kits and a Wii Swap exchange program, indicating a thriving market for used games. The overall tone is one of excitement, providing a snapshot of gaming trends. This page features a review of Clay Fighter 63 1/3 for the N64, and it sounds like they really didn't rate it, calling it the biggest disgrace on the N64. Apparently the reviewer had a bad feeling from the start, as the software company didn't even send a copy for review, which they took as a bad sign straight away. Cheeky. They mentioned that a previous version was okay, but this one was a mess with sluggish gameplay and dodgy graphics. There's a section highlighting some gameplay features, mentioning 12 characters, including Earthworm Jim as a guest fighter. It talks about special moves, super combos, and a dragon punch that turns your fighter into a maniac. They also say it's a bit of a rip-off of other 2D fighters that were popular at the time, like Street Fighter II, Mortal Kombat and especially Killer Instinct, even nicking its energy bar idea. The reviewer sarcastically calls the power combos hilarious. Down at the bottom in a box, it lists the game details. Beat-em-up genre, 12 players, 2-player multiplayer, a hefty 64 meg cart size, battery backup and no memory pack needed. It was published by Interplay, priced at £54.99, phone number given and release date was out now. Sounds like they're trying to be positive about it in some areas, but overall, the tone is pretty damning and it's clear they think Clay Fighter 63 1/3 is a proper stinker. Clay Fighter 63 1/3 receives scathing criticism. The game's backgrounds are praised, but the gameplay is universally panned. A playtest with the review team resulted in overwhelmingly negative feedback, with testers calling it dull and a crock of poo. The game attempts to include features like claytalities and combo breakers, but these don't salvage the experience. The review highlights poor gameplay, weak character sprites, and terrible sound quality. The graphics are mixed, with good backgrounds but poor character models and animation. Playability is sluggish, and lastability is abysmal. The game receives incredibly low scores across the board. Graphics 42%, sound 31%, playability 20%, lastability 15%, and an overall score of a dismal 25%. The review concludes that Clay Fighter 63 1/3 is an absolute disgrace, and a game to be avoided at all costs. Nagano Winter Olympics 98 for the N64 is a Konami-developed game simulating the '98 Winter Olympics. The reviewer anticipates its release next month and suggests it's for fans of the Winter Olympics, portraying it as a highly accurate simulation. The game features 7 events, including skiing, snowboarding, and allows players to compete for medals representing 16 countries. It supports 1 to 4 players with various multiplayer options. The game requires a memory pack and has a cart size of 64 meg. Scheduled for release in January, it aims to capitalize on post-Christmas winter sports enthusiasm. Although the review doesn't share the final score, it showcases screenshots that highlighted the colorful and fast-paced 3D graphics, though now they appear a bit dated. The price was set at £59.99. Nagano Winter Olympics 98 for the N64 offers a realistic take on winter sports, featuring 6 events: slalom and downhill skiing, ski jumping, 4-man bobsleigh, snowboarding, with downhill slalom and halfpipe, speed skating, luge and curling. The game aims for realism, with events relying on skillful button combinations and strategic gameplay. A reviewer, Tim Street, praises the game for its realistic portrayal of winter sports and its longevity, citing the single-player challenge and 4-player mode. The game receives positive scores for graphics, 87, sound, 86, playability, 87, and lastability, 84. Overall, it scores 84%, described as a polished and enjoyable experience, though not groundbreaking for sports sims. WCW vs NWO World Tour for N64 is reviewed, highlighting the return of wrestling to prominence. This game, a first of its kind on the platform, offers a headbanging experience reminiscent of old-school wrestling. Screenshots showcase the classic N64 graphics and familiar faces like Hulk Hogan. The game features a range of wrestling moves and modes, including Exhibition, Tag Team, Battle Royal, Round Robin, and Elimination Cup. Players can engage in various multiplayer options to battle it out for victory. Game info details the sports sim genre, 1 to 4 player capabilities, a 96 meg cart size, battery backup, and a February 1998 release, priced at £54.99. WCW vs NWO World Tour is a wrestling game praised for its extensive roster of over 40 wrestlers, including Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and The Giant, each with signature moves. The game features out-of-ring brawling with weapons and a spirit meter for special moves. Multiplayer options include Battle Royal and Rumble Pack support. Sean White's review highlights its appeal for wrestling fans, noting Take-Two's solid work on arenas and options. However, he points out a delay in controls. Despite this, the game receives high marks. Graphics, 89%, sound, 87%, playability, 85%, lastability, 83%, and an overall score of 86%. The review concludes that it's a fun experience, especially for fans, despite some minor flaws. Key. This review of FIFA 98, Road to World Cup on the SNES, assesses its worth compared to the lauded N64 version. The game retains standard modes like Road to World Cup, but presents dated graphics. Gameplay mirrors the N64, using a power circle mechanic for passes and shots. The review notes minor issues, such as inaccurate team kits. While offering the same gameplay experience as its N64 counterpart, the SNES version's 16-bit limitations are evident. The reviewer acknowledges the effort to bring FIFA to the SNES, but acknowledges it's a step down, and suggests the time for 16-bit FIFA has ended. The final score is 76%, stating that while it is not a bad effort, the N64 version is recommended, but the SNES version is still enjoyable. This page is a full-page advert for a sports magazine called Sported. Blimey, remember that one? It's got a load of magazine covers plastered all over it, proper 90s style, bright colours and all. They're pushing it as the flashiest sports magazine out. Bold claim, eh? Looking at the covers, it's a who's who of 90s sports stars. There's Zola in his Chelsea kit, Tim Henman looking like Wimbledon royalty, Prince Nazim talking up a storm, and Damon Hill giving it the thumbs up after a race win, probably after another Schumacher controversy if I remember right. Then you've got basketball legend Michael Jordan, Leigh Ferdinand in his Newcastle strip, Mike Tyson looking mean as ever, and even David James back when he was Liverpool's #1. Steffi Graf is there too, representing the tennis ladies. They've really crammed in all sorts of sports. Football, obviously, tennis, boxing, F1, basketball, even BMX and skateboarding. Looks like they're covering all bases, from the big hitters to the more niche stuff. Each cover's got a little tagline, like Zola talking to the mag, Henman being the best of British for Wimbledon, and Jordan saying, "It's more than just a game. Only £1 it shouts at you." Bargain back then, and on sale every 2 weeks. So they were keeping busy. It's a proper blast from the past. Seeing all these faces together takes you back to flicking through the newsagent stand wondering which one to pick up. Simple times, really. This page features Game Boy game reviews. Buster Move 2 is praised as an essential buy, retaining its addictive puzzle gameplay from the PlayStation version, with fiendish playability and a time attack mode. Turok: Battle of the Dinosaurs, a platformer adaptation of the N64 shooter, is described as a complete overhaul. Players navigate Jurassic environments, collect weapons, and battle the evil campaigner. The review notes the game's ambition, with diverse levels and key-finding objectives, but acknowledges its deviation from the original. While potentially a classic, the review remains cautiously optimistic about its success. This page continues the Game Boy reviews, kicking off with Buster Move 2. It's a puzzle game, and they're saying it's a cracker, proper addictive like Tetris, even on the old Game Boy screen, despite it being in black and white obviously. They reckon once you get your head around the patterns, you'll be racking up some serious scores. There's a versus mode too, so you can batter the computer. They gave it a stonking 92%, calling it an essential buy. No messing about there then. Then there's Turok: Battle of the Dinosaurs, which is a bit of a surprise on the Game Boy, considering the N64 game was all about 3D shooting. This one's a platformer, set in a jungle with all sorts of bits to collect like arrows, knives, and eventually pistols and rifles. Looks like you're fighting dinosaurs and gun-toting blokes. The reviewer seems a bit unsure, saying it's a standard platformer but the animation is decent, and the levels are alright to keep you busy. They marked it an 85%, so not bad, but not quite in the same league as Buster Move 2 according to them. They do say to give it a go if you're into platformers, but maybe have a look before you shell out your pocket money. Castlevania Devil's Castle for the Game Boy follows Sonia, a vampire hunter, as she battles Dracula. The game features 5 levels, various bosses, including Deathdragon and the God of Death, item collection and multiple endings. Sonia can upgrade her whip and utilize soul weapons. The review, however, is lukewarm. The reviewer finds the graphics lousy and the gameplay dull, comparing it unfavorably to Donkey Kong Land 3. The game received a 77% rating, deemed not a stinker, but not essential. It's considered a decent, if unremarkable, handheld experience. The game is single-player, utilizes a 3 meg cartridge, features battery backup, and doesn't require a memory pack. This page is a subscription advert for the official Nintendo magazine. Big letters shouting subscribe and save, trying to tempt you to sign up for a year and save £7.50. It's all about getting the official Nintendo magazine delivered to your door for 12 months. They've got a form to fill in, proper old school style to post it off, asking for all the usual details: name, address, phone number and payment by Access, Visa or MasterCard. Remember those days? Check or postal order options too if you were feeling really retro. Rates are listed for the UK at £22.50 for 12 months, Air Europe at £37.50 and World Air for £52.50. Crikey, seems pricey for overseas back then, but then again, import charges were always a killer. There's a little section shouting about 5 reasons to subscribe. Basically, you get 12 issues for the price of 9, always a good deal, isn't it? They also boast about being first and best for N64 exclusives, news and reviews, which, to be fair, they were trying to be back then. Free tips book every month as well, they always chucked in something extra to sweeten the deal. Good old magazine freebies. Offer closes 28th of February 98, so definitely getting into the N64 golden era. Source code IF1G, and offer code F10. Probably for their tracking purposes, none of our business really. Just a classic subscription push to get you hooked on the mag. Wild Choppers, a 3D shoot-'em-up for the N64, is pitched as the console's answer to Desert Strike. Developed by Seta, the game promised realistic gameplay and mind-blowing levels for 1 or 2 players, with a battle mode for multiplayer. Players could choose from 8 allied helicopters with varying specializations, each rated with star-based stats like speed and armor. The game featured fuel management and the need to destroy bunkers for power-ups. The 64 meg cartridge included battery backup and memory pack support. It was available at the time of the review, with the price dependent on the importer. The game offered standard battle mode multiplayer, offering players a helicopter action experience on the N64. Wild Choppers features a variety of weapons, each costing in-game currency. You'll use missiles like the AGM, AM, stronger than AGM, and AGAM, most powerful if aimed well. Rockets fire in groups of 10, and dummy missiles are decoys. Cluster bombs come in green, weak, and red, strong. The game's difficulty increases as you progress, starting with basic objectives and escalating to protecting Air Force One. A top-down map provides strategic information like target locations and enemy counts. Wild Choppers on the N64 is a helicopter action game, promising intense gameplay. The game features impressive graphics for its time, demanding players dodge enemy fire, manage fuel, and destroy buildings for weapon upgrades. Screenshots reveal gameplay with a typical HUD, showing helicopters engaging in combat within a jungle environment, blowing up tanks and buildings. The review acknowledges the challenging controls, utilizing the 3D stick for aiming, the D-pad for turning, shoulder buttons for heavier weapons, and the Z trigger for bullets. Missiles lock onto targets, leading to explosions. The game includes a stealth ability that doesn't seem to provide much advantage. Tim Street's verdict is a great blast fest, despite flaws, praising the graphics, particularly the missile trails and explosions, while noting a lot of fogging and confusing controls. Overall, the game has its moments, but may not be a classic work. This is a look back at a vintage gameplay advertisement, highlighting the Nintendo 64 era. Gameplay, a prominent mail-order supplier, heavily promoted N64 bundles, featuring titles like Mario Kart 64 and GoldenEye, alongside a selection of UK N64 games. The ad offered various accessories, including joypads, memory cards, and cheat devices. They also catered to dedicated gamers by selling us N64 imports and adapters. Second-hand games and a dedicated ad for a racing wheel were also included. The ad also reveals a struggling attempt to sell the Virtual Boy. The advertisement, complete with an order form, encapsulates the experience of buying games through mail order. Aerofighters assault on the N64 tasks the Aerofighters team with stopping the villainous Fata Morgana, who destroyed Antarctica and caused global flooding. Players select from pilots Hawk, Glenda, Hien or Voke, each with unique weapons and a special move, guided by radio contact Ellen. The game offers 8 camera angles controlled by the D-pad, with special weapons mapped to the right shoulder button and C buttons for afterburners/air brakes. The game is a 3D shoot-'em-up supporting up to 12 players in deathmatch, utilizing a 64 meg cart with battery backup, but no memory pack usage. While the graphics may be dated, the game promises enjoyable jet fighter action for fans of the genre. Aerofighters Assault on the N64 features a 10-level world tour of aerial combat, starting in Tokyo and progressing to various environments. The game includes boss battles against foes like the Super X Walker and the Leviathan battleship, along with encounters with the stealth fighter Spriggan. Deathmatch mode offers 4 playable planes: the beginner-friendly F-14B Tomcat, the fast but fragile Su-35 Superflanker, the slow but heavily armored A-10, a Thunderbolt II, nicknamed Warthog, and the expert-oriented FSX. Each plane has unique characteristics and special weapons. However, a review by Tim Street heavily criticizes the game, calling it a waste of space. He cites issues with performance, screen clutter, and slow pacing, ultimately advising against purchasing the game. Mortal Kombat Mythologies. Sub-Zero on the N64 is a 2D scrolling beat-em-up, a departure from the fighting game series. The reviewer, already critical of Mortal Kombat trilogy on the system, finds this spin-off potentially more promising. Players control Sub-Zero, navigating levels, and finding hidden objects to progress. Gameplay starts simple with punches and kicks, evolving to include special moves earned through combos. It's a single-player experience with no multiplayer. The game utilizes a 64 meg cart with password and memory pack save options. Released in the US, import is likely for other regions. The reviewer suggests it may appeal to fans of 2D beat-em-ups and Sub-Zero. Mortal Kombat Mythologies. Sub-Zero is a departure from the traditional fighting game, featuring a quest with a map, a temple, and elemental gods. The game includes various items to aid the player, like health boosts, temporary strength enhancements, and invisibility. However, the review is largely negative. The reviewer criticizes the clunky controls, especially the difficulty in turning and fighting multiple enemies. The can't play, won't play section emphasizes the poor gameplay, rating it worse than Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Sean White's N64 view echoes these sentiments, calling the game annoying and repetitive, and ultimately recommending skipping it in favor of Mortal Kombat 4. The overall verdict is that the N64 version is a disappointment. This page is about Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 on the N64. Seems like Wayne's back for another crack at the hockey game scene after his first go-around. Apparently Midway is trying to make their sports games a bit more serious now, moving away from the completely over-the-top stuff they were known for. Remember all the madness in NBA Jam 64? Well, this Gretzky game is heading in a similar direction, apparently becoming more lifelike. The big change they're shouting about is that it's now a 5-on-5 proper hockey match, not like the arcade mode from before, which is now shoved to the side. All the silly extras have been binned off too. They've even made the rink bigger, to fit all the extra players in. The reviewer mentions the goalie is smarter now, finally able to stop those easy low corner shots, thankfully, as shown in one of the screenshots. Looking at the screenshots, you can see the typical top-down view for hockey games back then, with players in different colors so you can tell who's who in multiplayer. They say there are a bunch of minor gameplay tweaks, but honestly, unless you're a real hardcore hockey fan, you probably won't even notice them. Sounds like a decent enough update, but nothing too earth-shattering. This review of Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 focuses on camera angles and game modes. Side cameras include low, medium, the best all around, and high, each offering different rink views. Goal cameras offer behind-the-net perspectives. Gameplay mirrors the original, featuring play game for quick matches and season mode for in-depth play with NHL teams. A training mode helps players practice. The review also mentions simulated NHL scores, including a Philadelphia versus New York game. Overall, the page highlights viewing options and game modes, aiming to present the game as a comprehensive hockey simulator. Ow! Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 offers rule explanations for newcomers, covering icing and offside. Controls utilize A, B, and C buttons for passing, shooting, and special moves, with a speed boost option. The season mode features player trading, allowing team customization while maintaining realistic position restrictions. The review notes incremental improvements over the original, praising the return of commentary, though it's not fully polished. The game features official NHL licenses, providing authentic team logos, kits, and player rosters, rated across various skills, with selectable goalies. This page is mainly adverts, as you'd expect in these mags. Console King are flogging N64 mods and repairs, offering things like SCART conversions for us consoles, and those dodgy decoder chips for PlayStations. Always a bit of a grey area but everyone was at it back then. Offering 64 mods and then there's Ultraplay, another game shop. Advertising they do mail order, and all sorts of games for N64, PlayStation, and even Cadrom stuff. They mention memorabilia and outfits, which is a bit odd, maybe they meant t-shirts or something. Game-wise, they list a load of N64 titles like GoldenEye, Diddy Kong Racing, Clay Fighter, and even some of the more obscure ones like San Francisco Rush and Aero Fighters. Seems like they're covering all bases. GameWire, at the bottom, completely out of left field, there's an advert for manga video. Totally intergalactic butt-kick Earth Defender video stuff. Without the console. Bit of a strange tagline for a games mag, but it's pushing VHS tapes of anime like Armageddon and Macross Plus, both released in '97. Probably trying to tap into the same audience, I suppose, gamers and anime fans. A lot of crossover back then. This Club Mario page from the early 1998 official Nintendo magazine highlights the N64's upcoming year. Readers could win prizes like memory cards and force feedback units for submitted letters and pictures, often sponsored by companies like Datel. The letters section features various opinions. One reader criticizes the show Games Master and the lack of cases for N64 memory packs. Another, Jamie, praises the Nintendo All-Star Battle cards included with the magazine and suggests new characters. A third letter complains about excessive advertising, leading to a defense of the magazine's balance between ads and editorial content. Finally, a reader's drawing showcases a mix of Nintendo and other cartoon characters. This issue of Club Mario features reader letters and fan art. Highlights include a reader spotting a Mario ice cream van in Malta, earning a prize. Another letter expresses concern over the N64 price drop, but the magazine reassures readers of Nintendo's positive outlook. A 62-year-old grandmother, a dedicated N64 fan, praises the magazine. A reader expresses disappointment over the lack of a demo cart. The letter of the month discusses a newspaper article about a star resembling Star Fox. The issue also features reader-submitted art, including a drawing of a Nintendo editor attacked by Bowser and imaginative mashups of Nintendo and Star Wars characters. This issue features reader submissions and magazine commentary. A Mario's Music Studio concept envisions Mario creating music with instruments and touring, but the magazine speculates on its potential on the 64DD, which ultimately failed. A reader reported finding a Dr. 64, an illegal CD player add-on for the N64, which the magazine rightly warned against. Another reader experienced buyer's remorse after selling his N64, only to have his mother give it away. Mario's Hammer Time returned, with a reader smashing a PlayStation controller after selling his Saturn. Finally, several reader artworks are highlighted, including a cop-themed Mario, a scary Whizpig from Diddy Kong Racing, and 90s tough guy Nintendo character reimaginings. This issue features reader submissions including a cartoon of Seal as a dinosaur hunter and a drawing of Nintendo characters. The letters section addresses several topics. A reader inquired about a Konami football game and the status of Alien vs Predator on 64. The magazine downplayed the chances. Another reader lamented negative opinions on Clay Fighter 63 and a third, to which the magazine responded they hadn't reviewed it yet, and they were unsure of the fighting game genre on the system. Other letters discuss Seal's antics, with one reader suggesting a Save Simon Society. Seal, in true form, responds self-importantly. A reader suggests destroying a Clay Fighter cartridge with extreme measures, which Seal loves. Yoshi wins a prize, and a Name That Game puzzle challenges readers. Finally, Seal's Most Wanted section showcases his typical interests, like Easter eggs and Pokémon opinions. Jest is a new N64 game, pitched as a potential alternative to Mario. Described as a 3D adventure platformer with RPG and racing elements, the game features a Joker character exploring themed worlds to restore universal harmony and battle evil. Screenshots showcase colorful, albeit blocky, N64-style graphics with attempts at curved logic and animation, aiming for Hollywood-style animation at 25 FPS. Power-ups like karate for fighting and mallet for bashing enemies are highlighted. The game appears to combine various ideas, including a cartoon capers section with a police car. While ambitious and possibly overreaching for the N64, Jest's quirky premise and emphasis on power-ups might offer a unique experience. Jest, a new 64 game, aims to rival Mario with a non-linear structure. Players can choose easier or harder routes through themed stages, accommodating both newcomers and experienced gamers. Theme bosses can be avoided until the end, creating a dynamic difficulty curve. The game features diverse environments, hinted at by captions like neon skies and swimming. Meet the Gang teases character-driven gameplay with beautiful and sophisticated powers. Power-ups, such as the Craziest Marine, Boxer, and Prohibition Beer, which enhances running with visual side effects, add a quirky cartoonish element. This suggests Jest is striving for a unique and wacky identity to differentiate itself from Mario and other N64 titles. Worlds of Wonder is a new game promising diverse themes and levels. It features a jack-of-all-trades approach across 8 distinct worlds: Circus/Fairground, North Pole, Wild West, Mars, Haunted House, Tropical Island, 20s Gangster, and Aladdin. Each world offers unique levels like races, boss battles, and themed environments. The Joker character will wear costumes appropriate for each world, enhancing the variety. The game aims to offer a wide range of experiences, but its success remains to be seen. This page is a full-page advert for Super Mario 64. Blimey, what a classic! It's from HMV. Back when they sold games and not just overpriced headphones, they're calling it the best game ever. Which, to be fair, back then, it kinda felt like it. It's available at HMV for £49.99, which was a fair whack of cash back then, but worth every penny for Mario 64. They're pushing the Nintendo 64 software available at their games department, remember those? It's also got a little gold award logo saying it was voted Best Nintendo 64 Game at the Golden Joystick Awards in 1997, which, yeah, no surprises there really. Good old Mario 64 still holds up today, even if the graphics are a bit blocky now. This magazine page previews upcoming N64 games. The headline focuses on a hyped preview of Quake, claiming the world's first playtest, with a question of whether it's a must-play. A competition offers 100 copies of Fighter's Destiny, despite some skepticism on its best beat-em-up title. The Played to Bits review section features Holy Magic Century, Acclaim Soccer, and Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. FIFA Road to World Cup receives a guide, and a Tips Explosion offers game secrets. The page also lists staff details, the magazine's address in London, subscription information, and standard legal notices, typical for a gaming magazine of the era. This page showcases Top Gear Rally for the N64, and it's screaming 90s cool. Bold black text shouts "buckle up" above a muddy rally car mid-drift. Classic stuff. They're really pushing the radical driving experience angle, mentioning 5 tracks, 4 racing modes, variable weather effects. Pretty standard fare for racers back then, but hey, it was the N64. They even boast about tweaking your car's settings and custom paint jobs, which was a nice touch. The advert quotes Nintendo magazine calling it the best racing simulation for the N64. Bit of a bold claim, especially with games like Wave Race 64 around, but each to their own. Down at the bottom, it's all about the tech specs: 64-bit power, 94 mHz speed, rumble pack support and stereo sound, the usual N64 buzzwords to get us excited. And of course, the slightly arrogant tagline, the fastest, most powerful games console on Earth. Ah, those were the days, weren't they? Simple times, straightforward advert for a decent racer. This page is shouting at you with a big yellow background for WCW vs NWO World Tour. It's got that classic late 90s attitude vibe, asking if your mates are always giving you grief, suggesting this game is the answer. Naturally, they're pushing the multiplayer angle, up to 4 players head to head, so you and your mates can sort out any disagreements in the ring, N64 style. They've even got quotes from magazines, boasting about review scores like 92% from Total 64 and 85% from 64 magazine, calling it the best beat MUP so far. Bit bold, but fair enough, it was a decent wrestling game back then. Down below you've got the wrestlers themselves, Hulk Hogan, Sting with his face paint, and Macho Man looking all intense. And of course, a couple of blurry screenshots of the game in action, blocky polygons and all, but that was the N64 charm. THQ logo in the corner, they were all over the N64 back in the day. Standard advert for a wrestling game really, playing on the rivalry and multiplayer fun.